Welcome back to my channel, guys.
Hey guys!
What I wanted to do today is kind of talk to you guys about how we do our writing within our homeschool. With our writing, we use two curriculums, I would say. We use both Brave Writer. We're doing the partnership in writing, and in conjunction with that, we are doing it's called the Jungle. I know I have it somewhere. Let me go get it for you. 1 second. Okay, here it is. So we're doing their partnership in writing, and we're doing that in conjunction with the Writer's Jungle. The Writer's Jungle is basically a foundation that is laid out that helps teach your child how to write. They don't focus on like the 3-paragraph rule, and nor do they focus on ensuring that each paragraph has a set number of sentences. They're not focused or concerned with that type of structured or formal writing at this point. My son is in the 5th grade, and when he was enrolled in school full time, from pre-K through the 4th grade, I noticed that he struggled in writing a bit. And when he took his state exam for writing in the 4th grade, he barely was at 4th grade level, which concerned me a bit. So I kind of looked at the approach that the school took in the writing process, and the school was very focused, like many public schools, they're very focused on writing a paragraph that is structured. They give you a topic. They tell you if this is going to be a personal essay or a persuasive essay, as an example. And they say make sure you have 3 paragraphs within your body. Make sure each paragraph has 3 to 5 sentences. And then they tell you how to go through the drafting process and the revision and editing process and then your final copy. But I realized that if your child doesn't know how to put good sentences together, or if your child doesn't really know how to format their thought process in an orderly fashion, or if your child doesn't know what words to use within their paragraph or within their story or sentences to make it vivid and interesting. If your child struggles with that, then they're not going to know where to even start. If you tell them this is your topic, go ahead and write me a story with 3 paragraphs in it. They're not going to know where to start, and that creates frustration on their part, and it creates frustration on the part of the person that is requesting that of them. So I appreciate Brave Writer because they don't focus on giving your child a topic and then telling your child to write about it. They are very, very big on reading aloud to your child first, during the process and before the process. And they are very big on having your children read things that are of interest to them, whether or not you as parent may consider it to be expiring literature or not, or twaddle or not. So, and they also focus on the fundamentals without the mechanics in the beginning. They focus on getting your child to think about being creative and being inspired and being excited about a certain topic or subject matter that they are interested in. And then diving into that subject matter, researching it a bit, gathering information, writing their thought process down through free writing, regardless of if the mechanics are correct. And mechanics basically mean like the grammar aspect of writing. They're not concerned with that. It's all about putting your thoughts down on paper in whatever order that makes sense to you. And once your child does that, kind of talking them through each of those sentences, praising them through it, and kind of helping them build upon it. So this is how I do it. What we did was I first asked my son to think about a cartoon or a movie or a show or a sitcom or whatever, something he's interested in, something that he has watched, right? So once I have him do that, I say, okay, I want you to rewrite, or basically write what you're thinking about. So if you're thinking about a cartoon and a certain scene within that cartoon, I want you to write out that scene for me. So he did that. He wrote out the scene. I don't care if it was a paragraph, I don't care if it was a full page. My whole point was for him to translate the images that he remembers into words however he wants to express them within that written portion. So he went ahead and he did that. Once he did that, then I put that to the side. I read it, of course, and I will be honest with you, it was choppy. It wasn't very vivid, very short, simple sentences as a fifth grader. But everybody's writing style is different. Every child will learn how to progress in their writing as they learn new information, as they read more and things of that nature. They have experiences or things that they can bring forth based on prior knowledge to their writing. That comes with time. Your child doesn't have to be an eloquent writer in the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th grade. That may come later on. That may come in high school. That may come later on in middle school, and that's a-okay. At this age, I think it's important to just help your child put their thought processes down in an orderly fashion, help them to pull from experiences, pull from prior knowledge, pull from literature that they have read in order to determine what a good writing deliverable looks like, okay? So once we did that, I put that to the side and I started teaching on grammar. This is how I chose to do it. This is not how Brave Writer tells me to do it or any other curriculum. This is how I felt as though my child would learn best. So I started teaching on grammar. We talked about verbs and adjectives and adverbs. Although he knew all that information, I kind of taught it in a different way to kind of help him understand how that makes your sentences more vivid. And then we talked about banned words, and that phrase comes from the IEW program. When my son was in the 3rd grade, going into the 4th, that summer when he was enrolled in public school full time, I had him do the IEW program during that summer. So it was more of a quick pace, and he learned about banned words, decorations, dress ups, and outlines during that process. And we're going to still use IEW. We're going to do that course again, but we're going to extend it out and do it a bit slower. We didn't do all the examples during his 3rd grade year, but we're going to, at this point, so we're homeschooling full time, we're going to bring that back in, and we're going to do some of the examples that we did not do, just to go over some of those concepts again. But we talked about that, and he remembered some of those things. So what we did was we created a lap book, a writing lap book, that basically says, how do we hook the reader? How do we make our sentences or paragraphs better? And within that, again, we discussed the grammar terms that helps create more vivid sentences. We talked about banned words, not using baby words like said or saw, think or thought, go or went, bad, ugly, good, not to use those words. And we talked about words that we can use in replacement of those words. Okay, so these were little lessons that I have done after he wrote that paragraph. And then we talked about decorations. What does that mean? What are some examples of decorations that can beautify your paragraph or sentence? And then we talked about dress-ups. What are some examples of dress-ups that can bring life to your sentences? And then we talked about fanboys. What's the purpose of having coordinating conjunctions within our sentences? And then we talked about the 5 W's and why that's important to incorporate within our story or our paragraphs. And then we talked about how can we open up a sentence? How can we close a sentence? What are some strategies or ways that we can do that? We will talk about figurative language. What is figurative language? Like similes and metaphors and personification. How can those things bring life to your story or your sentence? And then we talked about a title. How do we create a title? When do we create a title? And then also we talked about the planning process of writing. What is the planning process? How do you brainstorm? How many methods are out there for you to use for brainstorming? And then why do I need an outline after I brainstorm? What is that supposed to do? So we talked about all these concepts through lap booking and discussions for about a month or two after that initial writing assignment, okay? And then once we got familiar with that type, those other concepts, and familiar with the process to include what is revision, how do we revise, what is edit, how do we edit. Once we talked about all those things, then we put that together and we said, well, what is the writing process? The writing process is you have your brainstorming. We talked about that. Included in your brainstorming is outlining. That's all the planning, getting our story in an organized fashion, getting our thoughts out there, getting our ideas out there, right? Regardless of how outlandish they are. And then we're going to go ahead, use our outline to draft. We're going to create our first body of work, right? Using our outline and using our brainstorming method that we used. Once we do that, we're going to look at our story and we're going to revise it. We're going to find out if we have too many simple sentences, and we talked about that. Do we have any complex sentences, which include dependent and independent clauses? We talked about that. We're going to talk about whether or not we need to remove words or add words, make our story more vivid. Do we have banned words that we need to replace here? Do we have figurative language here? Do we have any dress ups? Did we use any decorations? Do we have any fanboys within here? So we talk about all of that in the revision stage. And remember, we took a month or two and created lap books and had lots of discussions. We had examples on the board where I would write a sentence and we would have to make that sentence come alive, things that we learned. We talked about having an independent sentence, independent clause, and a dependent clause, how we can flip them around in order to make the sentence the same but sound a little bit better, comma placements, the meaning of a comma. We talked about all that, okay, during the process. And then we say, okay, let's go ahead and let's rewrite our revised draft. Once we're done, we're going to edit. We're going to focus on punctuation. Are our commas there? Do we have capitalization there? Do we have our end marks in the proper spot? And along with looking at that, is there any more revision that you think you want to do? Did you miss anything? And then we'll go ahead and write our final copy. And then we'll read it. And if everything looks good, then we'll go ahead and type up that deliverable. So as you can see, we started off with a writing assignment by pulling from something that he was already familiar with, a scene from a cartoon that he liked. We wrote that down. We put that aside. We took a month or two and talked about the different ways that you can make writing really interesting with all those terms I brought up, making sure he understood them, wrote sentences on the board, went through that entire process with a sentence or two. And then we put it all together, explained the writing process, which is everything we talked about, but now we're putting those things in the order in which they should occur, right? And then we took that initial writing prompt, brought it back in, and then said, let's go ahead and utilize everything we learned about and let's revise or let's redo this. And we didn't literally redo it. We used his initial writing prompt and then we went sentence by sentence and we incorporated the things that we learned about for each sentence. And then he rewrote it, he revised it, He did a second draft, he edited, we looked over it again, and then he typed up the final product. That entire process, guys, took about 2 months for us to do. But I am a-okay with that, because think about this. Everything else that we do with our children, from cooking to cleaning to extracurricular activities, teaching them how to play ball or how to throw a ball or whatever it is, it seems like everything else in life, we as the parent or a teacher models the behavior for them. We tell them how to throw a ball. We show them how to throw a ball by actually doing it. We teach them how to cook by actually cooking, having them stand beside us, having them do small parts of the cooking process, and then we give them the opportunity to do it based on what they have seen, what we have modeled. When it comes to sports, right? If we want them to tackle through in football, we don't say go and tackle that person. What do? We are showing them how to properly tackle in order for someone else not to get hurt, in order for them not to get hurt, right? If we tell them to we show them how to properly kick a ball for soccer, how to properly hit a ball when playing softball or baseball, right? We show them how to properly do strokes if we're swimming, right? In math, we show them how to properly complete a problem through steps. If we're teaching division or multiplication, we write it down and we actually do it for them, showing them how to do it. But why is it with writing, many may feel as though here is a subject that I don't need to model. Here is a subject that I don't need to show you how to do it. Here is your prompt, or here is your topic. Go right ahead and get on to it. Figure it out. It doesn't work like that, guys. And that's why a lot of kids struggle in the public school system when it comes to writing. And you see that in the 7th grade or in 9th grade when they're in composition and literature. And they can't put a good paragraph or story together, or they can't analyze information. And that's unfortunate. But as homeschool parents, I think we have an opportunity to change that mindset a bit. I think as homeschool parents, we have the opportunity to provide that modeling, provide that example that we provide in every other aspect of life, right? So why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing that up because children may not know how to write because they don't know what to write about, right? So consider writing with them throughout the process. Not every writing assignment, but consider the first few, an effort to model. So if you tell your child, we're going to write about a scene in a cartoon or a movie that you like, and we're going to write what we remember on paper, write that scene out on paper. You do it too. And as you teach the process in the beginning, you don't have to do that teaching throughout the entire school year. Once you do it a few times, once or twice, I think you'll be fine. And that's why you have the tangible end product, which is your lap book, as an example for your child to reference at any point in time after that they need to go through their writing process. Okay, they can utilize that as a resource to remember, how am I supposed to go about writing with this assignment, or how am I supposed to go about the writing process if I'm given a topic, or if I have to choose a topic on my own. And go through the revision process with your child. You told your child to write something, you do it too. When they revise, you revise yours. When they edit, you edit yours. When they do a second draft or third draft, you do it. When they have a final, you do a final. When they type it, you type it. Again, you don't have to do that for every single writing assignment, but in the beginning, I absolutely recommend that you do that. You're modeling the process for them. You're showing them that you are supporting them, that you are right there with them, okay? And then do it together. Don't do it, separately, where you assign it, they're somewhere else, they're doing it, and you're somewhere else, you're doing it. No, do it together. You guys are writing together. You can bounce ideas off each other. You can ask him questions. He can ask you questions, and then share the information. Have him review yours, and have him make additional edits or revisions. and then you look at his and then or hers, and then you make additional edits or revisions on theirs. Okay. And then again, through your draft, you read it to each other and you go through the process. And at the end, of course, as an adult, your end product will be a lot more elaborate, a lot more eloquent. But that is great because that is showing the child what a good writing end product looks like. They've seen you go through the process because you've gone through the process with them. They'll understand the frustrations that you may feel because you're trying to think of a word and you don't know the word that you're trying to say to express the emotion you're trying to put on paper. So you pull out the dictionary or you pull out your synonyms or antonyms book and you're trying to figure out the word. You're showing them resources that they can use to help them figure out the word they're trying to use. Guess what? They're going to mimic you. When they can't find a word, they're going to pull out those resources or go online and research the word to figure out what they're trying to say because they may not know the proper word to use. Or they may ask you and help them. Okay? So I think doing all of that is going to be a great way to model and help your child through the writing process. And again, that's just how we do our writing process. And I'm going to do that throughout the 5th grade, guys, okay, for our 2018-2019 school year. And my hope is that by the end of 5th grade, we would have done that for free writing, expository writing, persuasive writing, argumentative writing, if that's even one of them. I don't know if argumentative is the right one. It's not persuasive. It's where you are debating or making an argument about why someone should take your position on a particular topic. Although you are persuading them, but it's a little different. I don't know, but I know it's a little different. The two types of writing styles I'm talking about. But there are various writing styles that I want my child to write within the 5th grade, going through this process that I've explained. And as we get towards the end of the school year, then we're going to focus on 3 paragraphs, 3 to 5 sentences make a paragraph. We're going to bring it from being so broad and we're going to tighten it up and make it more formal so that when he enters the 6th grade, he knows the different writing techniques that he can use. And then when we're in the 7th grade, my hope is for him to be a pretty good writer and he can free write, he can do more of the formal writing in terms of essays and research papers and things of that nature. But you have to start somewhere. You have to teach them how to do it. You have to model how to do it. So I hope this video was of benefit. I hope you learned something new that you can maybe incorporate within your homeschooling journey. But as always, guys, if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try my best to respond to you in a timely fashion. And as always, be blessed and make it a great day.